No. And we are live. Welcome to the Icecast. Good evening, Andy. How you doing, mate?
Evening, Shane. Nice to see you, mate.
And you?
How are we doing?
I'm not too bad, actually. You know, just getting on with things as we all are. Everyone in the UK is a little bit at the moment, aren't they, with everything that's going on? But
yeah,
you know, we try and
global.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in it together. But we've got some guests today, haven't we? Who aren't in the UK.
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah. So
we've been very lucky over the last couple of weeks. We've been getting people from New Zealand, Tasmania,
everywhere.
You know,
America. Just one side of the world to the other. So we love all these international guests.
Absolutely.
So I believe where are these guys from?
In Slovakia.
Andy?
Well, they're not from, but they're in Slovakia.
Yes.
So Luke's a teacher out there, and
Elly.
I think Elly's his model. Yeah.
And,
so we're going to find out. Very interesting.
We'll find out all about them. So without any further ado, Sam, run VT. And welcome back to the Icecast. And here we are with Luke Cooper and Elly. Now I'm going to say the surname as best as I can. Jurcikova?
Yes, exactly.
Hey. Oh, well done, man.
Hey, I'm getting good at this. We had Fabian. I can't say his name now. Fabian
Nicosia. Let me have a go at this one. We got Luke Cooper. Hey, is that right?
Well done.
Yes,
perfect.
Show off, you show off. Welcome to the Icecast, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
to be here.
Oh, it's nice to see you guys. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Luke, I know you already. In fact, Andy and I have published you in the past, haven't we? In Dead by Dawn magazine.
Oh yes. A single mournful voice. I think it was a 4-page story. Yeah.
Wow. Good memory. Was
that issue 2? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
A
lot of water's gone under the bridge.
And so just to let everybody know, we'll just introduce, if you could just introduce yourselves to those who are listening. Luke, you're a comic artist and writer and publisher. Is that right?
Actually, these days I'm publishing through Markosia.
Of course. Yeah. And that's been for the last few years, hasn't it?
Well, there was a few rocky periods. I mean, originally I was publishing Hollow Girl, which is my main book, through Insane Comics, which is an American company based in Illinois. But they sort of realized, the amount of money it costs to publish books, it's probably not worth doing it as a business. So they ended up folding. So then I went to another American publisher, which turned out to be the worst decision I ever made. And then more recently, I went to Markosia, and they've started reprinting Hollow Girl from the beginning, and I trust them now. So,
well, Harry's like a legitimate publisher, whereas the other guys sounded a little bit, if they didn't understand how expensive. But
it's like, people think they're going to make money out of publishing, don't they? When and you can do, obviously, but when you start off, it's difficult, and you've got it's a really hard road to take, and you've really got to know what you're doing. And I think a lot of people get into publishing, just go, oh, I can do that without any research, any sort of experience. And well, we did that, didn't we, Andy?
Absolutely. But it's like, and we'll go, oh, I can do comics, I can do this. It's like, it's a very tricky medium. It's not as easy as it looks, that's for sure.
Well, it's people saying, I like comics, therefore I should be able to publish comics. It's like, no, you need to know business. It doesn't work quite like that.
It's like, I like music. I'm going to be in a band.
Yeah.
Right? Can you sing? No. What can you do? Triangle.
Don't knock it. There's been plenty of good episodes of X Factor made up of those people that can't sing. That's always the most entertaining part of X Factor.
Oh yeah. After those hit bits at the beginning where everyone's dead rubbish, it just gets really boring.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
These are all good. What's the point of this? That's rubbish. That's not interesting. I don't want to hear good singers.
No, that's boring. Yeah, if I wanted to do that, I'd just go to a gig or something.
Just turn on the radio.
We've had a comment already. Barry Renshaw. Hi, Barry. I think we all know Barry. Yeah. Hey, yes, Barry. Finally caught a live show. So this is Barry's first Icecast live. Well done, Barry. It only took you, 7 weeks? Not bad, mate. Not bad. We love you, Barry. We love you.
We might even get Barry on one day. You never know.
Yeah, definitely.
Never know.
Gonna get Barry. Yeah, because Barry's always doing stuff. But anyway, that's enough about Barry. We're here to talk about Luke and Elly. So there's a new book coming out, isn't there? I mean, we all know you for Hollow Girl, but now there's this brand new book coming out, and it's called Alone But Not Lonely. Is that correct?
I've written it in the most pretentious way possible. It's alone, not lonely, but as one word. So it's like alone, not lonely. Because it's sort of that thing that people say when they really want to reassure you. No, I'm fine. I don't need friends. I'm fine on my own. So I'm alone, not lonely. So it's kind of said in that sort of punctuation.
I did wonder why there were no gaps, no spaces. I just it can't be a typo all these times, And so what's? I mean, we'll talk to you in a minute, Elly, about how you got involved, because I'm really interested in that. But could you just run us, Luke, through the concept of the comic and what it's about?
Well, it's an odd one, because this one dates back this one's an idea I had a very long time ago, which was originally called The Rapture. And it all comes from this idea of where I used to work. There was two people having a debate in the canteen during lunch break, and one of them was an atheist and one of them was a Christian, and the conversation just went in this very strange direction where it was like the atheist was desperately trying to convince the Christian that what he believed was wrong, and I'm agnostic, so I'm in the middle, but I just didn't see the advantage of telling this person that the thing that gives him hope and comfort is a lie. I don't really see what you're trying to sell here, Mr. Atheist guy. But being like someone who creates comics, the first thing I thought is, oh, that's a good story. What if the rapture happened? It's the end of the world. Angels have descended from heaven, and there's this atheist stood in the middle of it all going, shit, I was wrong. Okay.
But I don't deal with that.
But it sort of changed as time went on, because it was a typical post-apocalyptic scenario, ruined buildings, fire, torment, all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I kind of figured, well, that's been done, hasn't it? Everyone's done that. But then I was trying to think of something to do between Hollow Girl books, because I got demoralized with Hollow Girl because of that publisher. He put me off it for a while, so I stopped doing Hollow Girl for a bit and decided to try something completely different. So I thought, I'll dust off that old Rapture idea and see if I can do something with it. But I'd worked with Elly. I'd used her for a Hollow Girl book as someone who was basically being hunted through a forest by devil worshippers.
Oh, nice.
And so I knew she was good. She's very expressive. She's got a very expressive face, and she can communicate the emotions very well. So I thought, I've got to use her. And then what solidified that is I saw her in a short film on YouTube where she was basically doing a post-apocalyptic sort of story. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. I've got to use her for Rapture. She's got to be the main character of Rapture. But then as it went on, I was talking to people who were saying, Rapture? Isn't there like 5 billion things called the Rapture?
Yeah, it's quite a common title.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind is the Blondie single, I think.
And there's also
There's
a really bad comedy movie called The Rapture as well, and that sort of put me off as well. I was watching that thinking, oh God, this is I don't really want to be associated with her. It's such a bad. So what ended up happening is I just sort of kicking around ideas, and what happens if I get a model for the character, it sort of changes the way I think about the character. Right. And so I started thinking of her as this loner who didn't need anyone else, and then that became this idea for, well, what about an introvert during the apocalypse? And they're kind of safer, because all of these apocalyptic scenarios like The Walking Dead and that kind of stuff, it's always, as soon as you get together in a group, that's when it all goes wrong. As soon as you try to restart civilization, someone always messes it up. So there's this character who just decides, I don't need people. I'm actually safer alone. So it's this idea of an introvert having an advantage of survival because she doesn't trust people and doesn't get close to them. So that's basically where it all started. And then it got more complicated as it went on.
I suppose the question I have for you, Elly, is you're not like that, are you?
You never know. I'm not. But I have to say that I don't trust people a lot. So maybe I'm kind of similar to her. Yeah. But no, I can't kill people. No, I'm not a killer.
What about tentacle monsters? I'm sure you'd be capable of killing them.
Yeah, I guess so. If I had a gun.
So how did you get involved in this project then? I mean, Luke's touched on it just a little bit, but you'd worked with Luke before, had you?
Yeah, I worked with him more than once, but because he just asked me if I want to be a part of this comic, it was like, it can be a great experience for me because, as he said, and as you know, I'm trying to kind of get into acting. And this is a great experience for me because, as he said, I have to kind of show my emotions somehow through these photos. So, I will give you some example. For example, he told me, just imagine that there is a big monster on the ceiling and you're really scared. So what was happening in my acting mind was, okay, so now I have to kind of find out an emotion or kind of an experience or a moment in my life in which I felt really scared. So that's why my emotions could just, go out somehow. So, yeah.
Although you're looking pretty cool in that photo.
Were the reference photos done pre-COVID?
Some
of them.
It was kind of 50-50. I had to take a break in the middle because, we went into lockdown and I'd done sort of half of the photos. And then we came out of lockdown and I was just running around trying to get reference photos of people. And so it was really like, it was super fast. I just had to get the pictures as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, because we've gone back into lockdown now, but I managed to finish the book. So it was lucky.
So were you using a smartphone or what sort of material? How are you getting your reference?
I don't even have a smartphone. I'm so old-fashioned.
Camera.
Yeah.
Brock's Barry.
Crappy little, the kind of camera that people used to take with them on holiday to take their little snapshots.
Really small one. Really old one.
Yeah.
Not a film camera.
And it wasn't working.
Oh yeah, it kept freezing as well every so often, so I'd have to wait a minute for it to sort itself out so I could carry on taking pictures. Yeah, my equipment is top notch, top of the line.
When you take photographs, obviously you have a script beforehand. So is it all very organised? Do you pose everything out? Or do you just go a little bit wild and then sort of do a little bit of creation after you've taken the photos, or is it all very planned?
It's mainly planned. I have tried to do stuff that's more off the cuff, but then you're basically trying to write the script to the photos, and that doesn't work as well.
No.
But what I did was I would get her to hold a pose and then just sort of walk round her and take photos from every conceivable angle. So some of those pictures you've got, there are shots of her poor Ellie is falling backwards while firing a pistol. So we'd sit her in a chair at an awkward angle with one leg in the air holding a gun, and I just have to get it from loads of angles. And it can't have been comfortable. Exactly.
There you go.
And did you get her in costume as well? So was she full in costume and all with the gun, or did you draw that in afterwards? Or?
We have a toy gun.
A toy gun.
Yeah.
Toy gun.
Yeah.
One
Prop.
second.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Arsenal.
Show some magic now.
That's
pretty good. Yeah,
it's a BB gun. They're very common over here in Slovakia. I think it'd be the kind of thing that in Britain it would be classed as like a replica, but over here it's like you could just buy it from any shop.
I think we'd have to have like little orange bits of plastic on the end, otherwise the cops would come around and gun you down. Yeah,
exactly.
So, how many photos would it take? Because obviously you're not going to, you can't just take one photo for every panel because it's not always going to be spot on. Would it take, sort of like 100 photos for an issue, or how many sort of photos would you need to take to get it to nail an issue?
What do you think, Ellie? I reckon it was over 300 for this one.
Yeah, I think so. Over 300.
Yeah.
So
to
clarify, is it like a 20-page comic and then serialized, or is it more like a trade?
No, I thought of this as like a graphic novel. So it is one complete 60-page story.
Right.
Wow. And how many hours did you have to put in, Ellie, of posing for these photos?
So let me think. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know. Cooper, what do you think? It was 4 hours?
It was something like that. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, and it wasn't like in one go. It would be like an hour one week and an hour another week. I have actually done a photo shoot with someone for Hollow Girl where they came over to our house in the summer, and we did a photo shoot for 4 straight hours because it was someone I don't see very often. So they came down for one day during the summer, and we spent most of the day doing photos. And but that girl, the Hollow Girl model, she's a machine. She just would not stop. We ran through the battery on 2 cameras, and then it was like, okay, now we actually have to stop. Yeah, we can't actually physically do anymore.
And obviously, a lot of these shots, because I was looking at the images as Sam was running through them there, and beautiful artwork, by the way, mate. Really
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sam, feel free to keep showing that artwork so people can have a look at it. But did you have to set up, obviously, lighting as well to get this right? Because there's a lot of dramatic lighting. So, it must be quite hard to always get that how you want it, or have you got all the equipment for that? Because like shots like that, for example, where it's in the dark and you've got quite minimal lighting.
No, all the lighting was that's just drawn on. So right. I'll just get the basic shape of what the characters look like, and then all the shading and stuff. I would sort of then veer completely away from the photos and just make it more like standard comic art. Just add layers of shade and light until I felt it looked right.
So once you've got the photos, do you then put it into a tablet or a Wacom, or do you draw it live? What's your process?
So I use Clip Studio because it's a lot cheaper than something like Photoshop, and I've got a Wacom tablet that I use to draw. So digital inking and shade and stuff.
So would you do like preliminary pages in sort of biro or pencil first, like working out the layout?
No, because the photos sort of provide that. I would create a collage of photos. Like for example, the one that you can see on the screen right now.
Yeah,
I forget how many photos it took to do that. Let me have a look. The panel on the bottom. So you've got Ellie looking back. You've got 2 motorcycles, which are separate images. Then there's me posing as all 3 of the other characters. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the background, 9, 10, 11 for the helmets. So it's just like all this. It starts off as a collage. I build it up, and then I slap on the digital inks afterwards. So it's all separate images that are put together.
Yeah,
that's quite a lot of work, isn't it? Doing that compositing. Sorry,
composting.
It's a very different process. But, yeah. So I mean, because obviously that one panel, you say you got 9 photos in one panel, and then you sort of have to compose it. It's quite a lot of work. That is. I mean, I'd be so tempted. I mean, I think because I don't know, it's just the way I work. I guess I'd be really tempted to just try and do it in pencil first. You know, I wouldn't have the confidence to go straight into digital art. But that's been your preferred medium for a long time, hasn't it, Luke?
Yeah, when I started off, I was doing like standard traditional sort of pencils and inks, but that was more of a cartoony style. When I was in college, and I was trying to figure out how to do art that would be better for horror-based stuff, because I love my horror stuff.
Yeah,
and obviously my cartoony art, the kind of stuff I learned by watching episodes of Animaniacs and Tiny Toons, that's not going to cut it for horror.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what's the best way to scare people? And then I thought, well, make it realistic, make people be able to relate to it. So that's what gave me the idea of using photography.
It's a totally different style, but it's really effective. And that's a really nice page.
But what I find interesting is that obviously the photography is so important to you, but you're happy with using, as Elly said, a little old camera. You know,
which isn't working sometimes.
Yeah, because I mean, we all use these now. Obviously, you know, you can get thousands of photos on your iPhone and reference. But yeah, no, it's fascinating.
So
I'm oddly low tech.
There's something very like organic and hands-on about that, though, isn't there? You know, using sort of an older mode of photography. So. Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, you have no idea how much fun it is doing these photo shoots. But when people say that, well, you know, a real comic art should be traditional pencils and inks, like, no, man, because I get to pretend to be a director. It's so much fun. I get to pretend I'm like making a movie with the world's shittiest camera, sure, but it is still that same sort of feeling. When you're getting people to do these action scenes and stuff, it's so much fun.
But I think that's what I wouldn't change it. That there's no rules. There's absolutely no rules with art or with photography, with film, with comics, with music. If you feel comfortable, if that's what you want to do, that's it. That's what works,
and it works for you. And you get the results, you know, and you have a lot of fun. And Elly, are you a horror fan? Do you enjoy horror stories?
Yeah, really, I really enjoy doing this photo shoot because it's like, as I said, and as I post, you know, like this, it's like just amazing because Cooper is a really good friend of mine, and also when he is speaking about his comics and about the story, it's just so fascinating. And then when he's telling me what I should do and the story and how I should feel, it's a great.
It's like you were saying before, it's very similar to acting in a movie, isn't it? Because you're taking direction the way you would in a movie and all those sort of things. So, and you still have to emote. And in some ways, it's a lot harder because you're having to put emotion into a single image, whereas an actor on a movie, they've got time to sort of use the lines, use the sound, body language. You've got to sort of put the body language in a single image. And also with comics, sometimes movement, it has to be exaggerated in that image to get the movement across. Otherwise, it seems a bit static. That must have been a challenge at times to really put movement into your poses.
Yeah, it was. I have to be more expressive, I would say, with these photos, because if I want people to see my emotions and to see what I'm feeling, I have to, put it out somehow, even more as when I'm, for example, acting in a film. So yeah, it isn't like easy, but it's great. It's great. It's a lot
Interestingly, there's no bad acting in the comics, is there? This with low budget movies or independent movies or whatever. If you got $1 million movie, they can be pretty shocking. But the special effects, I mean, even in the comic, the special effects in that is unlimited budget. You can have as many tentacled monsters, you can have as many motorbikes, people, as whatever you want. And it's all down your control. It's fantastic.
There's many pictures of Luke.
Yeah, and Elly is the one.
Playing multiple characters.
I think I'm every single male character in that comic. I think I play every male character.
So what do you do if you need like a different body type or something like that?
Well, I do have some people that I do turn to if I need to, but sometimes I might use. I don't like to say it because there is a level where I do think it's cheating, and that's when I'm using like 3D computer graphics to try and create characters.
That's not cheating.
No, it's
you're just
generating.
You're generating something, yeah.
But I don't think I did that in this
Any
book
reference.
at all. I don't. In this book, I didn't do that at all. Even the monsters are not CG. It's all like. So one of the demons, I think it's the head of an anglerfish, the tentacles of an octopus, and I gave him spider's legs coming out of his back, and it was all used. It was all from photos and all sort of put together to create those monsters. And the one at the end, it's the head of a black dragonfish. Again, it's. I think it's an entire octopus for his hand. I just made his hand an octopus, and then I put a mouth in his stomach and stuff like that. But that was all. Yeah, it was all. It was all based on real animals.
It's amazing how sort of macabre you can be and scary it can be using just real elements in the wrong position.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you compose it, not compost. I mean, there's a lot of reference out there for real animals, so why not use it? And it's incredibly scary. And even with human forms as well, if you move the eyes around or a mouth into a different position, it can look pretty terrifying, and you can get some really good effects from that.
I was going to say Hollywood have used your technique in things like Scanner Darkly and like the old Lord of the Rings cartoon, like the rotoscoping.
Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah. But I think in comics as well, it's, as you said, I mean, if you were going to do a film, it would take 2 or 3 years. With a photo shoot, you can do 4 hours. You've got the majority of your acting, and then you can create your 60-page comic.
So exactly,
yeah.
When you're doing the scenes, Elly, do you ever sort of get into it and like shout the lines and things like that, or are you not that method?
Not really. Not really. I'm just as I said before, I'm just trying to maybe imagine the situation in my real life. Okay, of course, I have never met any monster, but for example, when I'm scared a lot, I know when I see some horror film and then I'm really scared because of it. So I just try to imagine that, but I'm not like screaming and doing something. No, it's just in my head, actually.
It's because it's got to be like a freeze frame. So we couldn't really be saying lines because it would be like. My wife used to do that for a Glimpse of Hell, which is the thing I did for Murky Depths magazine. I had my wife playing the main character, and she would be there mouthing stuff. Because you got to look angry. You got to be talking like angry. And she goes, "Are you fucking?" She'd be doing all that while I'm taking the photo. And sometimes I would get pew pew noises from the gun as well.
Really?
Which is firing. I love all that. I love it when people get into it like that.
Oh yeah, it all makes it more fun, doesn't it?
I mean, do you use like a green screen? Or like a backdrop, or do you not need that? You just take the photos?
Not really, no, because
the plain background.
Because I'm concentrating on character, I don't really bother with that stuff as long as there's nothing around to sort of obscure the view. Because it's not sophisticated at all. Like I said, one of the photo shoots I did in my back garden, and we had neighbours looking over the fence. So what are they doing? As I'm bringing out a selection of plastic machine guns, I'm handing this girl a selection of plastic machine guns, and she's posing like on the lawn. And then we're dragging one of the benches from the picnic table out into the middle of the garden so she can lay on it to do like one of those poses where you're sort of lying on your back firing a gun. And I thought, I can't have her lie on the grass, so I'll lay out a bench. And what the neighbours thought, I have no idea. But it's COVID-19 time, so we couldn't be inside, so we had to sort of do a socially distanced photo shoot in the garden.
Oh god. We've had another comment through from Lyndon Webb. Hi Lyndon, how you doing? Hey Luke Cooper. Nice to put a face to the talent.
Nah.
Thank you, Lyndon. Lyndon's doing a front cover. Well, he's already done a front cover for one of my Hollow Girl books. He did it ages ago, but then I changed publisher and they started republishing from issue 1. So poor old Lyndon's had to wait for us to get round to issue 10 again. And at the moment, we're just about to do issue 6. So he's still got a long time to wait. But it's a beautiful, beautiful front cover that he did. It's really good.
I'm
I
a
can't
big
wait
fan
for
of
people to see it.
Is that
Yeah, it's
Markosia that are publishing? Did you say
Yes, they're doing
Markosia?
Hollow Girl. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that available on their website, or what's the? how would
Yeah,
get
if you
hold of a
go
copy?
if you go to markosia.com and just like type in Hollow Girl into the search window, you can get the first 5 books. I think it's on Drive-Through Comics as well, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. You can get them pretty much from anywhere. Markosia are
And what's
very
the-
good at putting the
What's
stuff
the cover
around.
price? What is it?
I can't.
I
I can't remember. It's, I think.
Don't care
Give me
about
one-
that. I'm an artist.
Give me 1 second. I can go grab one. Ask Elly a question. I'll go check for you.
There you go.
Where are you
So, Elly, what's it like being famous?
going? One more time, please, because I couldn't hear you.
What's it like being famous?
Oh my god, am I famous?
I don't know.
I
When we were looking at the photographs, you're the comic pages. Your photograph was the same as the character, so
It's a good likeness, yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel seeing your face in print, and
Yeah.
the possibility that thousands and thousands of people might recognize you?
if you ever get to a Comic Con, you never know.
Actually, the first picture which I saw was the one where I'm holding a gun like this and I'm just watching, That one, when I saw it, I was, oh my god, it's so good! It's great! So it was amazing for me to see myself.
Oh yeah, has it got a price on there? That'd help me because I've got one of my comics, but there's no price on the back of it.
Oh,
I can't
really?
get
Just
it.
out of interest.
Well,
Oh,
whatever it is, we know it's going to be a bargain.
How
don't
can we read that? It's too small.
That's too small, Sam.
Earn it.
You have to pause it and then zoom in. Reply from Lyndon. Very nice of you, Luke. There you go.
Oh, credit where it's due, Lyndon. Credit where it's
Yeah.
due.
He's a good art. He's a damn good artist. I love.
Oh,
his
he's
stuff.
amazing.
Yeah, he's Hellboy and all that sort of stuff. The way he draws it, it's really nice, really nice.
Well,
Really
the
nice.
Hollow Girl thing, all I said was like, just because he's very good at these portraits of main characters. He's excellent at that. So that's all I asked for. And then he came up with this. But what about if we're seeing the character through a bullet hole in someone's hand? Oh my God! Yes, please draw that. That sounds amazing. That was so. It's very cool. I can't wait for people to see that.
That is a great idea. And I just looked there on that little bit of text. I forgot all about it. The stuff that you did with Jim, you did Wolf Country and Good Cop, Bad Cop. And I think I put you in touch with Jim, actually, didn't I?
You may well have done, yeah. And I learned so much working with him as well. Yeah, I learned what my problems were as well. The stuff I'm not good at. But yeah, he was the one who was like telling me, look, if you really care about this, then you've got to find the time to draw this. You've got to draw the stuff you're not comfortable drawing. You just gotta push yourself. You've got to challenge yourself. And yeah, I think he helped me so much when I was doing the Hollow Girl stuff. And that's pretty much, I think, Alone Not Lonely is partly because of Jim's influence as well, because that was a book where I was like, oh my God, the stuff I'm writing here, this is going to be so difficult to do. But so what? Just do it, man. Just try. Just push yourself.
Yeah. I think every artist should do that. I mean, what was it like working with a writer like Jim, instead of doing your own stuff? Did that push you?
Well, it was like there were 2 versions of Jim, because with Good Cop, Bad Cop, what he wanted to do was, it was very similar to, I think, what was going on with Judge Dredd, that he wanted people to put their own spins on the character.
Yeah.
And my take on it was different to other people's, because they were doing it was basically like a Jekyll and Hyde version of a cop story, where Good Cop, Bad Cop is literally like 2 separate personalities, but it's the same person. And some people did that more Incredible Hulk-like, where it transformed physically into another person. Whereas I decided that my version would be psychological. that his transformation would just be his hair got a bit messier and he just sort of held his body at a weird angle. And I think that's the version, Jim has actually said that's the version that inspired the novel of Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Cool.
So
I mean, I like that. I like that version myself, because that's also goes back to like the original sort of version of Jekyll and Hyde as well, which was more about contorting the face, contorting the body, rather than an actual transformation, you know. And I really like that it's more psychological, and it's more ambiguous as well for the reader. I think if you leave you leave it a bit to mystery, like how much is he actually changing, or is it all just in his head? You know, I like that aspect.
I like looking at character psychology more than anything. I mean, Alone Not Lonely is basically a psychological study of a character more than I mean, there is action and there is horror, but it really is just we're looking into a head, and there's a certain ambiguity to the story when we, I mean, I don't know if it's a spoiler, maybe not, but basically by the time you get to the end of the story, you're not sure what, if anything, in this story is real. So, and the way the story ends, that the character doesn't care what part of it is real, and it's sort of based on this idea that, well, what is reality? Like, if you are someone who suffers from delusions, you see things, you hear things, it's real to you, so it's real. And when you're dreaming, at the time you are dreaming, that's reality for you. So when we get to the end of the story and she's thinking, she's kind of given this choice that there is a way to break out of this, but she's like, I don't want to. I like being here. I understand this world. If this is a world I've created in my head, well, then I understand it and I'm comfortable here and I have no desire to leave. I'm quite happy being here.
I love that. I love that. I mean, wow, I'm so genuinely wanting to read this book.
So it's complete now, isn't it? The book's finished.
It is, almost. but it's sort of left slightly open because, like I said, it doesn't really explain what's going on. So it's this idea that it could be post-apocalyptic, it could be purgatorial, it could be purely a product of her imagination. It's never explained, and she has no desire to question her reality any further. But Elly and I did talk about this the other day, like what we would do if we were to do a second book. And it would be more that at a certain point, she would have to decide, okay, I need to do something now. I need to take a step here. And then it would be like, what would happen next? And I can't really talk about more because
don't give too much away.
Because the ending sort of, I mean, when you read the ending, you'll understand what I mean. But yeah, I
can't wait. I mean, I suppose the next thing is a convention, and you've got Elly there. In full cosplay as the character, and someone is going to come up, aren't they? And they're going to say, "I'm not convinced by that cosplay," and you're going to have to tell them, "Well, actually, I am this character. It is me. It doesn't get any better."
I mean, I'm everyone else. I am literally everyone else in the book.
Yeah, you can.
She just played one character. I was everyone.
In previous years, do you have Comic Cons in Slovakia? Is it something that that sort of thing, or
a lot of anime,
like a comic shop?
You get sort of like anime and manga stuff, which has a comic element sometimes. But I think it's more the Czech Republic, probably, you'd need to go to for that.
Yeah, I think that in Bratislava, we have only 1 or 2 comic shops. We don't have a lot of them.
Yeah.
There is a book convention, isn't there? Like there's a book con that happens in November. I don't know if it even happened this year, but they do have a book
probably
thing.
Online. Yeah, a virtual one.
That's true, maybe.
Yeah, is it Inheba in Bratislava, I think, has a Comic Con. A book convention. And I was thinking of maybe I could print up a stack of books. I was even asking a student if they felt like translating it into Slovak so we could have like a Slovak edition as well. But I'd have to ask Markosia about that, really, because they sort of have the rights now because I've signed a contract with them.
So just going back to Slovakia, is there not much of a comic industry there then? Like homemade, actually comics in Slovakia made by Slovakian creators. Is it quite a small industry or is it no industry? What's it like?
I'm looking at Elly because I don't really know much about Slovak comic industry.
It's directed at Ellie, really. The question, but you know, are you
but
aware
I
of
don't.
comics?
No, I don't really think. I think that Cooper is only one creator of comics. Who I know.
You're the only one. You got a
I'm
monopoly,
the only
mate.
one in Slovakia. Yes.
You're not
You're
even
the
from
most
Slovakia.
famous
Yeah.
comic creator in Slovakia. But I just had to have a quick look on Wikipedia because I'm always fascinated by how many, the population of, because Slovakia to us, we don't know what Slovakia is, but it's what the similar sort of population as Wales or Scotland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is it a small country,
Yeah,
population-wise?
educators with a bit of geography.
Yeah, tell us about
No,
Slovakia.
okay. So it's a really small country in the center of Europe. We are, I don't know how many people. I think 4 million of people are living
That is
here.
small.
So
Yeah,
it's Wales or Scotland. It's that sort of size.
It's smaller, I'd say.
maybe smaller.
Yeah, because what's the UK? Is it 56, 58 million? Something
60,
like that?
yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
that's tiny. Wow.
And also our capital city is really small. You know, if I compare it with Prague, the Prague is more like international city, but our capital, like Bratislava, is really small, and there are not a lot of people living there. It's actually, it's a capital city. It's the biggest city in Slovakia, but it's small. Not really a lot of things happening there.
So there's an opportunity there then for you to sort of capitalize and become the main publisher in Slovakia, the main comic artist in Slovakia. I mean, there's a real opportunity. It's almost like virgin territory, isn't it? You know?
But then you find you're the only comic fan as well.
Yeah.
You put another hunt on, and it's like, right, where is everybody? Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny thing about Slovakia that I noticed when I first came here is when I was talking about comics, it was mainly girls who read comics more than guys. I mean, there are some guys who are into it, but when I was talking to people, and maybe that's why I tailor I like favor female protagonists. Maybe it was like a desire to try and get more girls to read comics. And yeah, that really surprised me that most guys are, because guys here, they like ice hockey. They're into ice hockey.
Right.
They're into Fast and Furious. You know, they're into that kind of stuff. It's still a little bit old fashioned. There's still that old sort of like alpha male, tough guy sort of mentality.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's lots of guys who admit that they read comics, really, which is a shame because everyone goes out and watches Marvel movies, but no one reads the comics, you know.
Mind you, that's the same everywhere as well, isn't it? I mean, if everybody who watched a Marvel movie in this country read comics, there'd be a massive industry over here.
It's true.
But there just isn't, you know. So, Elly, do you read comics? Do you read sort of British or American comics at all?
Cooper still lent me some comics, so I read Punisher, I read Harley Quinn, then I read X-23. So I read some, but I have only one comic here in my house, and it's this one. And actually, my older sister bought me this comic in New York, and it cost her $1.
What's the comic? We can't see.
Well, yeah, what is it?
What is it? What is it? Is it a Batman?
Yeah, Batman.
Batman Eternal. Okay. $1 from the dollar bin. Well, your sister loves you, doesn't she? She got to time there. Got you this comic out the dollar bin.
What about yourself, Luke? I mean, what sort of comic do you still read comics yourself?
Well, sounds like Punisher and X-23.
And Harley Quinn.
And Harley Quinn, yeah.
Oh, so no, not anymore. Yeah. I mean, I liked Harley Quinn when she was in the old costume. When they started doing the hot pants, I was out. Yeah, I like the classic sort of like the actual Harley Quinn sort of jester
from
sort
the animated series.
Yeah, exactly. Because I grew up watching that.
Yeah,
exactly. I still read The Punisher. I started getting into like some of the Image stuff as well. So Paper Girls, I Hate Fairyland, that kind of stuff I really like now. I don't know. I think my tastes have changed a bit as I got older. When I was younger, I liked all the shocking stuff. You know, like Garth Ennis, anything by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, I must have it. And I'd still say they're an influence, but I did go through a phase where it was just. That's partly why that story, The Rapture, I sort of went off the religious aspect because I was thinking, Garth Ennis has done that. He's done it. He's done it well. I should not be stepping on his territory, really. And then I also got to a point where I just kind of got bored with like the shock factor of his work. And I just started wanting stuff that was just fun stories, really. I'm trying to think what the latest thing. Oh, I know. Giant Days. Giant Days is so opposite to anything I used to read. It's basically like a sitcom. I don't know. I call it a sitcomic. I think it's brilliant. It's just about 3 girls at university, and it's one of the best comics I've ever read. It's wonderful.
All right.
I really enjoy it.
Who publishes that, Luke?
I think it's called Boom Studios. I think it's a British one. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, they're doing some really interesting stuff at the moment, Boom, aren't they?
There we go. That's a recommendation to our viewers.
Yeah.
Giant Days.
Giant
Awesome.
Days.
And how much is that one? Oh,
I don't do prices.
$3.99.
I buy the stuff and then my wife tells me off for how much money I've spent. That's how I find out how much something is, when my wife tells me off for having bought it. Then that's when I find out.
How would you get your comics in Slovakia? Is there as we were saying, is there a comic shop, or do you get them off of eBay? Or
there is a couple of comic shops in. Well, there's one in Bratislava, but I usually I order from Book Depository usually, because Book Depository will deliver to Slovakia, and it takes about a week. It's not too bad. It's pretty good.
And also, you can't really buy
there we are.
comics in English here in Slovakia. You can buy only comics in Slovak language and only some in English. So,
got you. So we should be able to see actually.
Yeah, there's Giant Days on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we can see a little bit more details about it. I really like the creators and all that sort of stuff. But it's a really different style as well to what I expected it to be. I expected it to be a lot more representational, rather than the cartoony stuff. So you still have a soft spot for that stuff, then, Luke?
Oh yeah, I've never gone off that completely. Yeah, I still watch Bob's Burgers all the time. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll watch a horror movie one day and then stick on Bob's Burgers the next day.
And do you ever see yourself sort of going back into that style yourself with a different project?
Well, there's something I'm thinking about at the moment which could be cartoony. I'm trying to do it in the realistic style, and to be honest, it's not really working for me. So I might actually try to go back into something cartoony. I've got an idea for a story about a changeling, and I don't know. I've got a name for it. I've started the plot, and it's just not working, and I'm not sure what's wrong with it. But as I'm working on the new Hollow Girl book, I'll dip back into that and try to work it. But yeah, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it needs to be cartoony. Maybe it needs to be a cartoon book instead.
Well, we're glad to make suggestions for creators on here. Help them out.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So when you're creating like new characters and concepts and all that, does it go through quite a long process for you? Do you struggle with ever finding what style you're going to draw it in, or what sort of character they're going to be, or does it come to you really quickly?
It depends. I mean, with Hollow Girl, it was the most shallow way to come up with a character I think you possibly could, because it was like, I want a girl with guns shooting gangsters. How can I do that? How can I do that? And then I thought, I've used this model before on something else. People are going to recognize it. I know, I'll give her a mask. There you go. So you won't know it's her because I give her a mask. But then when I started drawing, I was like, oh, she's really scary. Because as soon as you take away the face, it becomes scary. And then it completely changed the tone of the story. And it started out as this little 5-page thing. And I realized I was going into a very Mike Myers territory with it. So sometimes it's, as you're drawing it, you look at it and think, yeah, okay, I've got something here. And then that sort of tailors what's going to happen with the character. In the case of Alone Not Lonely, a lot of it came from working with Elly and then thinking, okay, I know who this character is now. And it's a bit of me. it's a bit of my wife and it's a bit of Elly all sort of mixed together. It looks like Elly, but it's kind of got some of my hang-ups. She's got my hang-ups. She's got some of my wife's hang-ups. And it's all sort of put together. When I was describing the character to my wife, she said, "Why are you writing about me?" I'm not. That's me. You're talking about me. Am I? Okay. Good.
I think a lot of the best characters, aren't they? They're amalgamations of, you know, because if you just base a character on a person, well, it's just a character. It's just a caricature almost, usually, isn't it? But when you start amalgamating, and it adds a little bit more depth, and it makes it a bit more believable. You know, I always find in movies that I watch, you know, you find out later, you know, when they're based on real people, and they say, well, that character was actually an amalgamation of this guy, and this guy. I remember on Black Hawk Down, Eric Banner's character was an amalgamation of 4 different real people, but to make it work, they had to amalgamate it, and I think that's a really good, effective method for character building.
I do that a lot in historical stuff, don't they? Where they think it's going to be too complicated to have all those characters, so they just kind of put. I think Chernobyl did that, where they basically took all of the, and this is a little bit sexist, because they kind of took every female doctor and just put them together into one female doctor character, and that. So yeah, a little bit insulting to the ladies, I think, but yeah,
but
I can see why they did it.
That's quite a useful technique, isn't it? Because
yeah, it streamlines things, so you don't have to keep introducing different people all the time.
Yeah, and it keeps it moving, keeps the pace going, that sort of thing. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, actually, because with using photographs, you know, to reference, do you find that challenging to set a pace for your story? Because you know, it's a different process, isn't it, than doing stuff either out your head or just partially using reference. You've got to think about how the story flows from one panel to one page. Is that challenging using photographs to the extent that you do?
It is, but it's not too bad. It's worse if I'm working with a writer. If I'm writing and drawing my own stuff, then I can look at a page layout and go, "Oh, this doesn't work." And that's happened before, where I've looked at a whole like a 5-page action scene and gone, "It's rubbish. It doesn't work. It doesn't flow." But I can re-edit it because it's my book. I've written it, so it's fine. And I did that with Alone Not Lonely. There was like a whole sequence where it was a very dark, dramatic moment, and I was looking at it and I just didn't like it, so I removed a panel to make it a bit faster and just rewrote all the dialogue, made it much more dramatic. I was telling Elly about that the other day. That's the bit where a character gets very angry with Ellie's character, and I sort of made it a lot more dramatic by making a bigger panel and someone kind of looking right at you like that, and all this very like angry dialogue. Like, I've had enough of this. I'm sick of it. And yeah, and maybe I was saying it to myself a little bit as well. I've had enough of this. Just finish the book. Finish it.
We're on page 59.
But I was going to say what's interesting, because I mean, famously, Strange Haven. So Gary Millage used a similar sort of technique, but I think his was far more epic, and I think he found it almost difficult to continue that sort of pace. Whereas I think with yours, you've managed to develop a technique and style that allows you to fulfill the storytelling. Because as we, I don't know if anyone's aware of Strange Haven. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful comic. But even Gary would say, you know,
it looks like it takes a long time.
An epic undertaking.
You look at the pages and you go, I get tired looking at it. You know, there's just so much work that goes into those pages.
But then I think someone like Brian, so Brian Talbot, when he was doing Tale One Bad Rat, he chose all of his actors and his models, didn't he? Yeah. So that was but they would, they'd be then drawing it, so they weren't using the digital techniques. So I think that helps to speed up the storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah, I find it fascinating.
Well, there is one pacing issue I did notice in the book. If you get a chance to read it through, you'll probably see it. But the first is so quick. It's really fast. It's basically Ellie's character is leaping from one situation to the next. And it's just like, I think because originally I thought it was going to be a webcomic. So it was going to be like published in like 2-page installments. And so it moves really, really quick. And then the second half, when I decided, it's not going to be a webcomic. So the second half is a little bit slower, and it's because it's the characters getting to know each other. It's a little bit of a slower pace because there's a lot more talking, a lot more like getting to know you stuff. And there's a lot more tension as there's a monster sort of creeping down a corridor, getting closer and closer. But the first half is just, she's in a tunnel. There's a monster. She fights the monster. She runs away. There's another guy. He attacks her. She fights him. She goes to another thing. She's in the woods. There's an angel. And it's sort of like that.
I'm giving it all away.
Oh.
It sounds exhausting. It sounds really exhausting, Elly. You must have lost a bit of weight doing this job. You know?
Yeah, not really.
Running from the forest into scary buildings and balancing on chairs.
I forgot
Killing
to say.
monsters.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to say.
Well, I think we've got just enough of it actually, just to get a feel for what it's like. I mean, I'm really, really genuinely interested in this book now. Like the way you've described the story and the character and how it, the ambiguity. I love ambiguity in characters.
And when's the book out? Is it out now or is it out?
No, well, I literally signed the contract like last month, but I did ask, and Markosia is saying January, February, so it'll be early New Year. It'll be out.
And are they used in Kickstarter or is it being direct to publisher from publisher? How's the route to market?
Yeah, I don't like Kickstarter. It's too stressful.
So it is hard work.
I just figure whatever I make, I make.
But then if Markosia were doing it, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Because we had Tim Pilcher was on here a month ago when their book was being. Go on, Shane. What was the name of the book?
Oh, The Glass Wall.
Glass Wall. Yeah.
Great book, which I've pledged, and I'm looking forward to getting my copy.
Yeah. So when they were on here, they were halfway through their campaign, and they didn't have enough money. But fortunately, eventually, it worked its way out, and it's going to be published. And we're going to get a graphic novel for $10.
Yeah,
which an indie graphic novel.
It was stressful for them, wasn't it? It was stressful. Yeah.
But then again,
there's always that bit in the middle, isn't it? There's always that bit in the middle where people just stop because everyone backs you at the beginning, and then you get the last couple of days you get that sudden rush. But then there's that bit in the middle where you're like, "Oh my god, everyone's forgotten me. Why does no one love me? Why does no one want to read my book? I hate you all."
But then you suddenly get that notification. It's like, another pledge. Oh. We're popular again. We're the cool kids.
Nice feeling. So, I mean, January, February, that's not long. So we haven't got long to wait. That's great. I mean, we've done our hour. I can't believe it.
Yeah, wow, that was really flew by.
Yeah, it's just really genuinely interesting subjects,
But I wanted to quickly ask Luke if
sure.
Comic Cons were free again in this. Would you come back to the UK to promote your work again? Or
I was going to ask that. Yeah. You beat me to it, mate.
There we go.
Yeah, I did talk to Markosia about that when we started doing Hollow Girl. But yeah, I would like to. I'd like to come back, especially summer and spring. I think are the best times for me. But yeah, I'd definitely like to come and do some Comic Cons.
And we're hoping that the ice will go live again. We hope, don't we? And the Shrewsbury.
And Comic Salopia in Shrewsbury, which hopefully is going to be in June. We'll see how it go. It's mostly outdoors, so we've got a good chance with the vaccine coming up.
Yeah, you'd enjoy that one, Luke. That's
okay.
It's really nice.
It's a very European show.
Yeah, we've
cool.
got a castle grounds. We use a university, the town square. The whole town is all about comics for a weekend, so it's really good. And hopefully it's sunny because it's June, but you never know. It is England.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get you both over to a.
How about that?
That would be. Really
I'd
good,
love that. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Definitely. Be lovely to meet you both, in person. Because I've known you for years, Luke, but I don't think we've actually physically met, have we? Or am I wrong? Have I forgotten?
I was thinking the same thing earlier, actually.
I don't feel so bad.
I don't know because I've been to a few cons, but I used to go. You remember James Reddington, Portent Comics?
Yeah,
so I used to do stuff with him. I did a couple with Murky Depths of Terry Martin, but I don't know if I ever actually met you. at
No, I don't
those
think we
cons.
did.
Because we used to go to
No.
Caption quite a lot, didn't we, Shane? In Oxford.
Caption, Bristol. Always
Yeah.
did Bristol when that was.
I think I did one of the Bristol ones, but I don't know. Maybe that was before we really knew
And then
each other.
the was it a small press comic thing?
The Web and Mini Comics thing.
Boom.
Oh yeah, I did do one of those. Yeah,
We
I did
were
do one of
there.
those.
We would have been there. There we go.
Yeah, so we would have crossed paths.
Yeah.
We just don't remember.
Ships that pass in the night.
Indeed.
There we go.
Indeed.
Well,
Have you ever
that's
been
it.
to the UK, Ellie? Have you ever been over to the UK?
Yeah, it was this summer actually. I was there on
right.
acting course for
Oh,
6
right,
weeks.
cool.
So you sort of snuck in between lockdowns.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because when I came there were no restrictions, and
Yeah.
when I left, the restriction came back. So it was like, yeah, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
good timing.
Lucky.
Well, thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. That was really cool.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you too.
And good luck with everything.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck with the book. We hope it's a huge success, and well, I'll definitely be buying it anyway. You sold it to me.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the best, guys.
Excellent.
Run V.